Singer Model 401A Sweetness. Been doing some factory adjustments after the restoration. Just going to do a little sewing here and testing the stitch and the tension. Straight stitch. So to set it on the 401, the needle's out of the fabric. The red lever is at 3. Outer knob push, turn to A. Inner knob or the back knob pull and turn to K. AK3. Alright. Okay, good balanced stitch. The tension set at 4 for normal straight stitch, medium weight fabric. Let's go to a longer stitch. Let's go to the longest stitch. And let's go to a very fine stitch, very short. And testing the controller, I restored to be sure you can go slow. So you have plenty of control. Alright. Still have a good balanced lock stitch. So let's set for some zigzag. So needle up out of the fabric. Red lever 3 to make any changes. Outer knob push, turn to B. Inner knob or the back knob pull out and turn to L. Really supposed to do it with your left hand. There we go. And I'll just go ahead and do a 3 width. Let's change it to a 4 width just for the heck of it. And a fairly short stitch so we can get some zigzagging done here. I might loosen that tension down to about 3.5 for zigzag. Looks good. Let's see if we can do a wider zigzag stitch now, all the way to 5. Okay, my lock stitch is holding there. Let's see, let me pick one of these patterns here. How about like a blind hem? You're going to hem some slacks. That would be B and O. So let's set it for B and O. So needle up out of the fabric, red lever to 3. So we can make a change. It's already on B, so I'm going to pull the inner knob and turn it up to O. There we go. And let's go to about a 4 width, and about a 4 width. Well, let's go to 5. Let's go as wide as we can. We'll go to 5. And about a 15 stitch. Let's see how that looks. Alright, let's bring this up out of there. behind the camera so I can see if this is going to show it all. That's a little too bright, isn't it? Yeah. There's the bobbin, the underside. Bind hem stitch, straight stitch, zigzag stitch. It's doing real nice, no problems here. I come back over here and go back to straight so I can test the reverse. Needle up, red lever 3, inner knob, outer knob push up to A, inner knob pull to K, a K3. That is our straight stitch. Okay, so I go a little bit, throw the reverse lever up, go back, down, yep, reverse is working normally. Okay, then I think, let's see, you mentioned about the special discs. I forgot about that special disc. So let me go grab a special disc and I'll be right back. Okay, this is disc number 1. Very popular, like Arrowhead. And to install or remove a special disc, the same story. Needle is up out of the thread always, and the red lever is on 3. And most of the discs you want to set to B for center needle position, and the chart will tell you up here. And then for a special disc, the right indicator can be on anything but special. To put the special disc on or off, you have to be off of the special setting, so you don't damage anything. And it just snaps right on. Once the special disc is in place, you want to turn this indicator all the way up to special, so that the cam followers now will follow the pattern on that disc. And keep it on B. Now that it's up on special, this does control your width. So let's make some arrowheads up to 5. And for most of these patterns, you normally want a very fine stitch. So when you move the indicator up into the fine area, then you can turn it, or what's called dialing it in, to make it finer and finer. So let's see if I can make an arrowhead here. Yeah, let's make it even finer, because I want it almost like a satin stitch, like embroidery. I think they say to sew the patterns at a moderate speed, not too fast. This is looking pretty tight. I'm going to try and sneak a little bit finer. The problem is, if you go too fine, the feed dog won't move and the fabric will stop, and you'll just be sewing on top of the other stitches. So I'm just going to just a little bit. I just want to move it away from the edge here. Now I've been doing this at about a 3 for zigzag. Matter of fact, let me go down a little bit and pretty good. I'll try a little bit more, but boy, those stitches are tight. Okay, now when you want to, you can leave a disc here and just needle up, red lever 3, and take it off of special and use the other sewing. So you can leave a disc in here. Matter of fact, I think it comes with this disc number 1 arrowhead from the factory. So you can just leave it in there because it's only going to come into play if you have it set up onto special. So when it's off of special, it's going to be whatever pattern you set it on. Okay? And then if you want to take out a disc and replace it with another disc, like always, needle up, red lever 3, and the right selector must be off of special. Cannot be engaged on the disc, or that's how people damage it. So just make sure it's not sitting on special. Like maybe it was on BL and you were doing some zigzag and now you want to go to a pattern. Well, this is not on special, so you can pull the disc right out. And you can get your Walls of Troy or icicles or scallops or whatever, and it's not on special, so you can put your disc in and then inner knob, turn it up to special to engage. Once it's engaged with the special, this becomes the width of the pattern, and of course this is the length of the pattern. Okay, so let's see how the arrowheads came out. Maybe if I point it down, not right into the light, maybe I'll be able to. I can't tell from looking in the camera. Up at this end, you see the pattern wasn't that close. Looks more like a spear tip than an arrowhead. But as I kept turning it to a finer and finer stitch, the pattern got closer and closer together. And if you want to get very close like that, you can use your special purpose foot instead of the multi-purpose foot. But the functions are working. It's sewing a nice lock stitch. It does zigzag, blind hem, pattern, reverse. I'm going to run it through just a couple more of these settings, so I'm sure that we have full like full mobility of everything. And then I've got to do some testing of the needle to hook and the distance and all these minute settings, but this was my main sewing test, testing tension and lock stitch and the function of the foot controller and the function of all the controls, including reverse. and it's sewing pretty darn nice. So that's the end of the sewing demonstration. Okay, I almost forgot. One of your emails talked about, you sent a picture and you were asking about sewing in kind of wavy lines or curved lines. I've switched the needle plate and the presser foot to straight stitch, and you can do this in zigzag also, but it works best with the narrow foot. See if I can start up here, and then up here is the presser foot pressure control. So you want to lighten that up a little bit because you want to be able to move your fabric around a little bit. But you can't push or pull the fabric because you'll bend your needle. So you have to let the feed dog pull the fabric, but you need some freedom to move this around, to move your fabric around. So there we go. So I'm set on AK3, and let's see if I can do it one-handed here. Gotta lighten that up a little bit, the pressure. You could do this better with two hands and using a foot control or knee control. And also I'm doing a very long stitch. You could do a lot shorter stitch too. I think you can maybe make a little bit tighter turns with a shorter stitch. So, you got to remember, I don't sew, and that was just one hand because I'm not using the foot controller with my foot. I was just pressing it with my finger. So you saw with one hand, you can sew, curvy. That's the bobbin side. Maybe you can see that better. So, and like I said, you can do this with the multi-purpose, or even the special purpose foot would be better. And you don't have to have the straight stitch foot or straight stitch needle plate, especially if you're going to go slow, if you're going to go So that's the straight stitch needle plate with the little hole, and get that off of there. That's the straight stitch foot, and then this is the multi-purpose needle plate, which has that big curved hole there. You have to use this for zigzag, but you can use it for straight stitch also. And just get it in there and yep, lower it back down. And this there is a special purpose foot you should have had, which is about half this big, and that's for like satin stitch embroidery and free motion because it's a lot smaller. And then you can control how much pressure is put on the fabric with this, and I had it set pretty light because I was trying to control moving the fabric, you know, with just my left hand and not two hands, which would give you a lot more control. But you can definitely sew curved lines. Besides all the patterns, you can do free motion, and you can do satin stitch and free motion. You know, it's quite versatile, all the Singer machines, but especially this one.